everyone. This is Pam Reese with Adventures in Aging, and I'm here with my friend
Gary Vandenberg. Hey, it's great to be back, Pam. And hey, I've been hearing some really great things from our listeners, and I wanted to start with that topic today before we get into our big topic of the day.
What was it?
Well, you know, what's great is we're getting some feedback, and what I find is even though you and I grew up like 40 miles apart from each other,
Yep.
You know, what's interesting is people are saying they share those same experiences also. They had things like that happening in their lives growing up.
Oh, my gosh.
Isn't that wild?
Well, that's wonderful.
Yeah. Again, those people are probably closer to our age, but
Right,
it is
right.
interesting.
That's
how
because it's relatable to our age.
Relatable to that. The other thing people are saying is it's kind of like overhearing somebody in a restaurant where you're kind of hearing somebody at the next table and you want to jump into the conversation. And I've had a few people say that.
Oh, my gosh.
I thought that was fantastic.
That's exciting.
And then the third thing is just, you know, how there's interesting moments in all of our lives that have kind of been significant. And so as we get into, we're starting to have some good news. We're going to have a sponsor to our programs.
We are making it, Gary. We are almost there.
The big time's right around the corner.
It is.
And so as we do that, we're going to surprise them with a question as to what is their adventure in aging. You know,
I think everyone should tell us.
And what defined, you know, their journey growing up and growing older. And people are sharing their stories with me. A lot of them are, you know, coworkers and professionals, but there's also friends and family that are, you know, opening up and sharing their stories. And we welcome that and look forward to that continuing to be that.
Absolutely.
So today's topic was about those aching, aging feet.
All right. So let's talk about it.
We all have it, don't we?
Every single one of us have it. In fact, 8,000, Gary, 8,000 nerves in your foot.
In one foot or both?
In one foot. Did you know?
I can't even count that high. No, I didn't realize it.
250,000 sweat glands in your feet. I think that's both.
I wonder who's counting all of that.
Somebody is counting.
It seems like a lot of people have foot ailments, whether it's, you know, sore feet from being standing all day. You know, a lot of people are walking these days. I think on average we walk, what do you think, 5 or 6 miles a day?
So statistically, we walk 100,000 miles in a lifetime.
It's a lot of, I think that's several times around the globe.
Who knows that?
Yeah, somebody added that up. But I know that a lot of people have foot problems. A lot of people go to podiatrists and their own family doctors. And in fact, I think I had a number here that on average, if somebody's going to a podiatrist, they're probably going 4 times a year almost to try to deal with those types of things.
That's what I understand. And
you think about all those bones and joints and everything else that's in there, it only makes sense. I always think there's a stereotype, too, with men and women. Women wear these high heels for some crazy reason. Right?
So women suffer more foot problems than men, not only because of wearing high heels, but, and I didn't know this, but a lot of women wear shoes a size smaller than they really should be wearing. Is that to, like, disguise your bigger feet?
Man feet or something. I remember Seinfeld
you don't want big feet.
Remember the episode where Seinfeld had a
hands?
Man hands. Maybe people have man feet when you stop.
I think silently people are afraid of having man feet.
Well, I know my feet. They look a lot like Fred Flintstone.
Okay,
to be honest.
this is too much information.
They're flat feet, and I've never had a problem with my feet necessarily, except, you know, spraining my ankle a few times and you know, smashing my toe with a weight. One time I remember at my buddy's house, and I was like 7 years old. I lifted his weights, and I dropped it right on my big toe. Ouch.
Oh, my gosh.
And I ran home, and, of course, my mother did what she always did, and that's the Epsom salts burning bathtub water.
Right, and you'll be okay.
Yeah, it took my mind off my toe there for sure. But what problems have you ever had with your toes? Anything, or feet?
Oh, my gosh, yeah. So some cramps, some ache and pain. Cramps in my feet. Let's talk about that. Getting up in the middle of the night, running around the room to get the cramp out of your foot.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, it's, what is that, Crazy Horse type of thing or something?
Charlie
Horse. Crazy Horse, Charlie Horse.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, and I've been lucky again. I've not had like gout or bunions. I've known people that have bunions that, you know, really kind of is a painful thing.
Plantar fasciitis is a very common problem.
Is it? Okay.
Yes. A lot of people suffer from that.
And there's even things like, you know, different types of hammer toes. Have you ever heard of hammer toes before?
I have heard of them and have seen them. And if you're a woman, you don't want that well, you can't wear your open shoes.
Is it something that happens because of your diet or your age?
I don't know.
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
Well, we're kind of leading into what we're excited about today, and that's that we have a new sponsor, and that is Stridlite. Stridlite is spelled Stridelite. And if you go to stridlite.net, you can learn about them. Stridlite provides quality diabetic shoes, which is interesting, custom inserts, foot orthotics, and all lower extremity product needs. They've been around for over 20 years, and their commitment to exceptional customer service, which is always a good idea, has allowed them to earn the trust of their customers. They have state-of-the-art central fabrication lab, and I went over there recently.
Oh, wow!
And here's these men and women. They're shaping these things. They're like craftsmen. I said they should be in a tent out at the city center.
So you got to see the inner workings.
Oh yeah, from start to finish. How someone goes to their podiatrist or their family doctor, but mainly their podiatrist, and they're asked, they need something to relieve their foot there. But we're really pleased to have our sponsor here. And we've had with us today Tyler Huska. And Tyler, please tell us a little bit about yourself and about Stridlite.
Thank you for having me. Great to work with you guys. So I went to school at Ashland University and did my undergraduate degree in business management, and then followed up with my master's degree there in business. And shortly after, my dad started the company back in 1999, mainly starting with diabetic shoes, and then has slowly improved everything to a full functioning lab for all lower extremity products. So we do custom foot orthotics, custom bracing for people that have issues with things like drop foot and other diagnoses. I went down to Florida actually right after my master's and became a certified pedorthist, which is a professional in the lower.
I don't know that I've ever heard of that.
No, it's a professional in the lower extremity. Typically, it's from the knee and below. So you work with patients that deal with all of the issues that you guys have gone over.
Okay.
They also have orthotists that work with our company. Orthotists specialize in bracing for the entire body. So they'll do neck splints. They'll do anything for if someone has a stroke and they cannot use their hands properly. They have splints that they put on for stroke patients, but they focus on the entire body instead of just the lower extremity.
Great. And you've been there, how many years haven't you been there? Like your whole life, but
yeah. So I've been working there since I got out of college, so about eight or 9 years.
Wonderful. Well, congratulations.
So Tyler, do you have foot problems?
I do actually.
Oh.
So in football, I played football in college, and I partially tore my Liz Frank ligament.
Yeah.
So, and that collapses your arch. So it was our last playoff game actually, and I just felt this big pop in my foot, and I was like, "Oh, that can't be good."
Oh my gosh!
So
how many athletes probably suffer something like that?
Yeah, turf toe is very common now with a lot of these fields moving to turf. They have a lot of issues with it's the big toe joint. It gets very stiff, and you can get what's called hallux rigidus or hallux limitus, and it just completely...
So you're verifying that foot problems is not just an aging issue?
Right. Oh, no. There's foot problems from kids all the way through people in nursing homes, and older adults, everyone, yes.
Yeah, anymore, it's a very common thing. I know before we get too into feet, you've got a product called TheraWorks, and I'm excited about it because... what I like, it's a non-prescription type of thing. So maybe you could tell us a little bit about what is TheraWorks.
So TheraWorks has several different brands. The most popular now, there's some commercials that you guys will see on TV. The Relief brand, which is selling in Walmart, Walgreens, and some other pharmacies, CVS. They're selling 50,000 bottles of this per week because people all over America have issues with cramps, inflammation, joint pain, pretty much anything you could think of.
I was speaking to about getting up in the middle of the night with that cramp. So many people suffer from that and never really know how to relieve that.
Right. And my wife actually, she has restless legs. One of the cures is for restless legs. So I took a bottle home. I wasn't too sure if it would be, immediate or not. She put a couple of the pumps of foam on her hands, rubbed it on her legs, and within probably 2 minutes, restless legs were gone.
They're testimonial. People love that.
Oh, my gosh. So many of our listeners are going to go out and buy this product today.
TheraWorks. Now, when it comes to, foot problems, is it something, I don't know if we brought it up yet, is that something we're like born with, or you're saying it's many people are not born with it. They run into it because of other issues.
It can go both ways, actually. So there are issues with, your plantar fascia, as you guys talked about, plantar fasciitis. Plantar fasciitis is when your plantar fascia tendon is overextending. So that could be because of obesity, high activity, such as sports, things like that. And all it is slight tearing in your plantar fascial tendon. And the thought of an orthotic is to provide support to the arch and not let your foot completely overextend. So it's just providing support under that plantar fascia. So there's people all over that, you'll have kids that are born with flat feet and then they don't grow out of them and they'll need orthotics. And then you'll have people that as they get older, they gain weight, things like that, and their feet don't quite adjust as they should. And you need some support in your shoes for that.
Now, if you go to your family doctor, did they recommend going to a podiatrist then, or how does this all kind of work for the average listener, I guess?
Yeah. A lot of times they will tell you to go to a podiatrist or a DME company, depending on what the doctor specializes in. If they know enough about it, they'll just write a script for you to go to a DME company who will cast you for the custom orthotics, or if it's not too severe, they could send you to a local pharmacy and buy off-the-shelf orthotics as well.
Okay.
So, Tyler, some of these orthotics are covered by insurance.
Yes, depending on the insurance company. Everyone's different. Every plan is different, but there are insurances that pay for orthotics, and then it's a popular cash pay product also. The braces and the shoes that we carry are typically covered by insurance. Orthotics is more hit or miss depending on the insurance plan.
Sure.
Now, I know there's things you can buy in the store. It's Dr. Scholl's or something like that. But don't you folks carry something like that? What's the difference, I guess, between, I wrote this down, it's between a functional and an accommodating orthotic. What is that?
So an accommodating orthotic is going to be a softer material. Typically it's cork or a crepe material, so it's got more cushion to it. It's for people that have, the accommodating is more common for flat feet because you don't want to really put a hard plastic material under that flat arch. The functional orthotics is going to be more of a corrective product. So if you've got something where you're severely pronating or supinating, which pronating is when your ankles roll in when you walk, supinating is out, the doctor is going to try to get you into that neutral position, which gives you proper gait when you're walking.
Wow, that's good to know.
Yeah, I know. I've driven a lot of miles. Back of my shoes look like what is it when you're bending out?
Mm-hmm.
What is that called again?
Supinating is when you're out.
I'm supinating as I'm driving, apparently, and probably when I'm walking. As I'm walking with that way. I know that there are different products. I came across like different socks. Isn't there different socks?
Yeah, so we carry copper and silver lined socks. The thought of the copper and the silver is they're antimicrobial. So they are good they keep bacteria away. People that have things like athlete's foot like to wear these kind of socks because it doesn't allow them to spread and keep going into different shoes. The socks keep all of the bacteria and the fungus off of your feet.
Because you're our sponsor, I'm actually wearing some of their diabetic.
And they're comfortable, you said.
They're comfortable. Yeah, if you've been, and Pam, you and I have traveled where you leave at like 5 a.m.
Sure.
and get to some hotel at like 10 o'clock at night and you take off your socks. They look like some boa constrictor has been working on the bottom of your legs for a few hours.
Absolutely.
And so I know that these, when you take them off, they feel great when you're wearing them. They're comfortable. They've got this special Y in them or something.
Yeah, they don't like to put the elastic lining in diabetic socks because they don't like to constrict your legs like you said. They want to increase blood flow down to the feet. Mm-hmm. A lot of people that are diabetic have issues with circulation, so this helps provide better circulation down to the feet and toes.
So it's also beneficial, though, for non-diabetics.
Right. Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, they're comfortable. That's why I'm not diabetic, but I wear them. And then there's also compression socks, and that's not for diabetics, though. That's for some other reason, right?
Right. So everyday people wear compression socks, and then diabetics also can wear them at times. You see a lot of runners that wear compression socks because it helps keep the blood flow throughout your leg.
I probably need those.
Yeah.
No, you probably
my
do.
speed, yes. I probably need any help I can get.
Absolutely. But it just helps keep the circulation. A lot of people that sit all day at work, compression socks are very good for them.
So in the hospitals and healthcare, compression socks are used all the time. After surgeries to ensure proper circulation throughout your extremities. And actually, if you're on your feet all day and you're in a job or a position that requires that, wearing compression socks can be so beneficial.
Right. Yeah, you see a lot of healthcare workers that are on their feet all day dealing with patients. They wear them. A lot of the times the hospitals will actually provide a lot of their employees or almost all their employees with a few pairs of compression socks because they recommend them so much.
Now, are they, I hate to say, is there certain colors? Is there a way that they're fashionable, I guess?
So they have come a long way. They used to be just black or white.
No one wants to wear an orthopedic shoe.
Correct. Same thing.
Or socks. Yeah.
No,
Right.
the shoes and socks have come a very long way. Now they've got companies that design actually like a dress compression
Really?
sock, and they would look just like your
So you
average
can look
dress sock.
trendy.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, put on your compression socks and away you go.
There you
for
go.
a night of dancing there. So when it comes to the shoes, diabetic shoes, I was in a drugstore recently, and here's a display, and I was asking, Tyler, what is a diabetic shoe different than going to like a store and just buying any kind of shoe?
Yeah,
You stop and think of a lot of people, different economic backgrounds, they're going off to a Walmart and they're buying
Yes.
a $12 shoe
Yes.
and thinking that that's going to be the answer. And in fact, it's probably the worst thing they could do.
Right.
But what is a diabetic shoe? Is there some components or something?
Yes. So now going back kind of to the circulation issues that diabetics have, they make these shoes. The diabetic shoes were originally created to be a preventative product. So insurance companies pay for one pair of diabetic shoes every year for anyone that qualifies with their diabetes. Now, what makes them different is they're made deeper because they put nice custom inserts or heat molded inserts inside of them, and it gives them good support. And the thought is to decrease the amount of issues like ulcers that diabetics are prone to get, and that saves money for the insurance in the long run. So they like to get these patients in these shoes and keep that from happening as opposed to dealing with the ulcer payments later.
So if you have Medicare, I'm not sure if everybody knows that.
Some of this is so new to me.
And then, is there anything when you said deeper, is that like what is that, your heel, or is it the sides, or what is it?
So they actually make the inlay of the shoe sit farther down the shoe so they can get a thick insert in and it'll fit like a proper shoe, but it's made deeper so they can accommodate for that insert. They also make them with wider toe boxes because it helps get the circulation down to the toes. You guys were talking about dress shoes and women earlier wearing high heels.
Yeah.
You'll see podiatrists, one of their biggest complaints is the shoes that people are currently wearing, and they very frown upon they're very frowning upon women wearing dress shoes and high heels because it completely changes how your gait is supposed to be.
So I wish that we would have had these conversations when my mom was still alive. I can't tell you how many times we went to the store to find her the right shoe. Mm-hmm. My mom had boxes and boxes of shoes, went to all the, the comfort shoe, and the so-called orthopedic shoe that's sold in the department stores, right? And she never found the right shoe.
Yeah, it could be very hard for people, especially if you're going to a store and buying them. There are companies that make completely customized shoes, so you'll have people that have severe foot deformities, and an average shoe will not fit them regardless of the brand or anything. Mm-hmm. So they will customize a shoe and build it around that patient's foot so it fits perfectly. And then you'll also, when you go to a pedorthist or an orthotist for a diabetic shoe or a podiatrist, they really know what they're doing. They know what you're looking for. There are shoes that are made with Lycra that's very popular for diabetic shoes, and that helps if they have increased swelling throughout the day in their feet, if they have sores or anything, they can pocket anywhere on these shoes or inserts and really accommodate them.
Well, you showed me a pair that also it's tied at the top, but then it's Velcroed on the sides, right?
Yes. Yeah. So it's actually like a hybrid shoe. So people, as they get older, they have trouble tying their shoes, whether it be because of issues with their fingers and joints, or if it's because they have a stiff back and they're not able to bend down and tie their shoe, and they don't want to have the look of a Velcro shoe yet. So we actually came out with a shoe recently that you tie it and then you just use the little Velcro strap on the side so that it can loosen the shoe or tighten it as you need, but it's still a lace shoe.
And that I'm seeing is trendy. Mm-hmm. I am seeing that in the department stores.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely.
The Velcro thing. As far as like ages or sizes, I mean, I always think of older people, but what comes to...
So kids don't typically get the diabetic shoes because they're still growing. They don't have to worry as much about the issues with ulcers on their feet. Now, there are instances where it is, but it's not as common. You'll see a lot of kids actually go to a company that sounds like ours called Stride Right.
Oh, yes.
And that's
my
very
son
popular.
wore those shoes when he was little.
So if they don't have a proper gait or they've got some sort of a deformity that they're going to grow out of, doctors will recommend them to go to Stride Right, get some good quality shoes as a kid, and then hopefully that'll solve the problem.
So I'm thinking of children with like some developmental disabilities.
Yes.
That are born with deformed feet. Mm-hmm. Would there be anything?
Yeah, there are. So there are companies that specifically design children's shoes that we order from, and then they also could do the custom shoe route if it were that severe of a deformity. But when you see these deformities in kids, actually the most popular product that we deal with children is going to be our custom bracing. So either a custom orthotic or a custom brace is what they use to try to resolve the issue of the deformity in children.
Yeah,
Wow.
maybe tell us a little bit more. What is the process for a custom brace?
So if someone's going to order a custom brace from us, this has also come a long way. They have 3D scanners now that can scan the patient's foot and leg, and then a machine will actually mill out an exact replica of that person's leg so that we can build the brace around that and make sure it fits perfectly. They also use plaster casting. So if a doctor were to wrap the patient's leg in essentially a cast, they will send that to us. We'll fill the cast with plaster and design their leg ourselves so that we're always building the product based off of what their leg is.
So at the podiatrist office, they have these equipment or these,
yeah, they'll
these
either
things?
use the casting material and then they'll send that in, or some doctors now use the 3D iPad scanner and they'll send us a scan and then we will mill it out.
So in order to order from you, does the person need a doctor's order?
So we have a few different options. We actually work with podiatrists all over the United States, and then the doctor can order directly through us, or we have a few DME companies that we own or that are local that we give our products to. So they can go to a DME company. There's one in Canton, one in Youngstown, and one in Newark, Ohio, that directly work with us, and we do all of their products for them, and then any podiatrist can also help.
Great. And again, this is new to us. A lot of this information. We're excited. Appreciate you being a sponsor here. When it comes to those custom orthotics, what I saw those craftsmen making, what were they making there as far as the inserts, or was it?
Yeah. So the art of it really comes with the final process. So what happens is we'll get a foam impression of a person's foot. So the doctor will have them stand in the foam box. A laser scanner will scan the box and get the exact dimensions of their foot, and then a machine, a CNC machine, will mill out an orthotic that will match that patient's foot. So then it gets into the hands-on portion of the product where we've got employees and professionals that grind the orthotics to match the exact shape of the foot.
Yeah.
And then the top cover material is what is used to add just a little layer of padding on the orthotics, and that is where kind of the art is. These people shape it to match the inside of the shoe, but also accommodate the foot.
And so you could build one if somebody's an athlete. You could design it for them, maybe. Or?
Yeah, we've got different types of orthotics that are designed for diabetics, for athletes, for everyday people. We've got them for dress shoes because, like I said earlier, the podiatrists do not like dress shoes, but they know people wear them. So we've come out with orthotics that have an hourglass shape to them that'll fit the inlay of a dress shoe a lot better.
It's all about what's inside of that shoe.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, you'll see a lot of people that buy shoes that, every shoe is made differently, but if you put an orthotic inside of almost any shoe, it's going to make it feel a lot better.
Isn't that something?
No, it really is.
Wow. So, as we think about this, we're going to transition now. We're going to keep talking to you, Tyler, because it's more fun to catch you off guard here. You didn't expect us to come in and talk to you a little bit about himself here and adventures in aging, right?
So, yeah, which reminds me, I heard something about you, Tyler, that you may have been involved in something outside of the shoe business.
Now, you wrestled. You actually went to school in my school district there. So
yes.
you wrestled in high school, right?
Yes.
And you did quite well. What was?
Yeah, I won state in high school, and then I went to college for football and wrestling, and did both there.
You were the state champion.
I was.
What
yes.
weight were you?
I was 215 pounds in high school.
If I'm not mistaken, didn't you have a pretty good year that year?
Yes.
How many times did you lose that?
0 that year.
Can you
Oh my
believe
gosh!
That's got to be one of those rare things that happen.
Good for you. That's an accomplishment. That's
Isn't
a big
that
deal.
something?
It was a fun season. Yeah.
And then in college, you played football and you wrestled also.
Yes. Yeah, I played football and wrestled, and then going towards the story that we're going to get to.
It's so interesting.
I went to nationals my senior year for wrestling, and at the national tournament for college wrestling, a lot of times professional WWE pro wrestling will send recruits.
Isn't that something?
Yes.
Yeah, I always wondered how people got into that.
Me too.
Down in Orlando area, is it Orlando?
Yeah, it was Orlando.
And they come around. I've seen some movies. My kids are always into that stuff. So, yeah. And
so recruits saw you.
Yeah, so the recruit came up to me after the match, and you guys can't see me, but I've got long hair, and I had my
He
hair
looks
down.
a little bit like a WWE wrestler.
He's got a good size.
He's a big guy.
So I was exhausted, and all of a sudden this guy comes up to me, and he's like, "Have you ever thought about getting into entertainment?" And I didn't know what he was talking about. Right. And I'm like, he's like professional wrestling. And I was like, well, I have not thought about it, but, it'd be something I'd be interested in learning more. Right. So they said, we'll fly you down to Florida. We'll train you for a week. And
a week?
It was a week. And he said, if it all works out, we'll talk to you afterwards about a possible contract, or we'll see where it goes from there.
Yeah.
So a few months later, and they kept telling me, you got to be in shape. I'm telling you don't know what you're getting into. So I go down to Florida, and they just beat the heck out of you.
Oh, my gosh.
4 days. It was just...
So all that we see that we think is fake, you really have to be in shape.
Oh, the ropes are... So you look at the ropes and you see these guys bounce off them and you think, oh, they must be elastic ropes. They are rock-solid ropes covered with just a little bit of like a rubber material.
I had no idea.
And they're throwing you in the air and throwing you upside down.
So they'll throw you against the ropes. You had to bounce off of them. I had nice bruises all up and down my sides the first time. They make you learn how to... So when you see these guys fall from high up, they try to teach you how to sprawl your body weight out. So you've got to land on your hands, feet, and back all at the same time.
There is strategy.
Yeah. It's a lot more than you would think.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I saw some guy fall off the top. They put a cage out there, and they threw this guy off the top of it. So, you have to know how to land on tables and break them.
Oh, yeah.
Those kind of things.
I had no idea. I'm sure most people do know this, but I had no idea.
And then the next day they get up and, they're back to their life again.
Oh, yeah. And what's interesting, you don't realize this, but these guys go from one city to another, and they will finish a event, say in Cleveland, and then they are driving that night to Pittsburgh. The next day they're turning around and they've got to do another event, and then they're driving somewhere else in the country. They are constantly on the move.
Oh, my God. So Tyler, what happened?
So they contacted me afterwards, and there's actually, I was unaware of this also, there's kind of like an underground minor league wrestling, which people do at like fairs and places like that. It's none of the big names.
The sideshows.
Right. So a lot of
there's
people,
one in Akron, Canton I've been to. It's in like an old school gymnasium. It's legit, but these guys throw each other into the chairs and things like that.
Whoa.
So they had a bunch of guys that were from college wrestling there with me, and then a bunch of these people that do the underground stuff. And they emailed me and said, hey, we know you're fairly new at this. If you're interested in getting in the underground, we could talk later about maybe, getting a contract for you after we see you.
Fight Club. It's like Fight Club.
Right, exactly.
Well, I'm glad you made the right decision. But you're also a movie star, too. I was just thinking that one. So maybe Pam doesn't know. You were
no
in
idea.
A major blockbuster movie.
Yeah,
Tell that.
So, Kevin Costner's movie Draft Day. It was
Kevin Costner.
I know.
Do you know him?
I did meet him actually. So it was.
What?
It's a movie about the Cleveland Browns, and they came up and they had like an audition. So a bunch of my friends were going. We all went up there. They were looking for football players for a scene. So we went after we were done with school and everything, finishing up at college. And I ended up getting chosen, and there was 2 different scenes in the movie. The one you wouldn't see me because they were watching film on a team, and I was just in the background.
Okay.
But I was in the sun all day. It was like a 8 or 10 hour day of just getting roasted in the sun.
What?
And then the second scene that I am actually in, it was at Case Western Reserve, and they had us practicing in the background, and I was right behind the coach as he was talking on the phone to Kevin Costner. So Kevin Costner was there with us, playing catch with everyone. Really nice guy.
What a fun story.
Yeah, it was
I remember watching the movie, and I think my son goes, here, his scene's coming up. Tyler's scene, and it's like a 2-second scene, but you can tell it's you from behind. Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
Isn't that wild?
No. Did you ever think of pursuing more of that type of acting?
So you've got to get into the... I can't think.
The union or something?
Yeah, the union to be able to talk on camera. So after that, I did not really get much into it. But there's been other... I was unaware that there were so many auditions locally that you could do to be extras in movies. But there's been a couple other ones I thought about, but I did not do them.
Yeah, I think that's a booming business. That Michigan's big into movie making, and I'm sure Ohio also is. I know years ago I lived in Memphis, and they were filming The Firm there. Remember Tom Cruise?
My favorite book was The Firm.
And the scene that ends up being literally like 5 seconds long was at the building next to where I was at. It took them like 8 hours to get 8 seconds. It was that much
It's
detail.
incredible how much time they put into little scenes. You have no idea when you see a movie what it actually takes.
You take that shot over and over and over, right?
We did the same shot, and it's like a 10-second clip all day. Yep.
Yeah. That is so cool, Tyler. You are so diverse. I love these stories.
Yeah, and that's fabulous there. So now we're going to catch you off guard here too with our question, and as to what we were going to start out with, and appreciate StrideLight.net being our sponsor going forward here for a while, and we appreciate that. But, when it comes to your adventure in aging, how old are you? Close to 30 now?
Just turned 30, yes.
Oh, happy birthday. Congratulations.
He's so young.
But, when you think about adventures in aging, that's the name of the podcast here, what comes to mind about what has defined you throughout your journey as you're getting older?
Well, I'll tell you, lately I have been feeling much older in the mornings when I get up.
I'm so glad to hear that from a 30-year-old.
Yeah, I'll play basketball or do different things to try to stay in shape. And it feels like it's taking quite a toll on my body now compared to 5 years ago. Absolutely. And I've got a kid. I've got one daughter now and another one due in June. So 1 month.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So they're demanding a lot too out of me. So when I'm waking up in the morning, usually like to move a little bit slower, and she's upstairs crying. I don't have any time to get myself ready.
Do you think that's because you were an athlete and now like that lifting and all that activity?
Yeah,
has
I think it's taken, especially like my ankles and things like that. So it's actually a benefit that I work for a company that does lower extremity products. I definitely use the Orthotics. Hopefully I don't need any of the other products, but I guess we'll see.
Sounds like TheraWorks is in your future.
Yeah, TheraWorks is, and I'd say in about 20 years, Tyler, it might be catching up with you.
That's what my wife tells me all the time.
Yeah.
She says I better start staying in shape and start stretching more because it's not looking too good.
Oh, okay. So that's your your adventure there. But is there something that maybe your family taught you or you learned in school from a coach or something that you kind of think about a lot, saying, this is a good mindset going as I get older to think about?
Discipline, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I guess everything kind of plays back to sports for me. The coaches are always teaching you. One thing that my dad always said is, you've got to be competitive, but don't be, arrogant about things. Don't, boast yourself up. So I try to live with that, and I don't like to talk about myself all that often, but lead by example.
I love that. What a great way to live.
And we get to be our age, with the sports you played in high school catch up to you. I've got friends that are getting new knees and new hips.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And they're bending over a lot because they lifted the wrong things the wrong way for too many times. And,
exactly.
And even a couple of years in high school, you can get your bell rung a few times and it catches up to, I think, as far as injuries and
sure does.
Things like that. So I'm glad you got out safely.
Yeah.
And all of those good things.
This has been the most entertaining and educational time that I have spent.
Well, we appreciate you coming in, Tyler, and appreciate the sponsorship from Stride Lights.
100%. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity to come in here and talk with you guys and allow Stride Light to sponsor the show.
We'll do it again.
Awesome.
All right. Well, this concludes our podcast for today, and we want to thank our listeners. Please share. Please submit. We appreciate each and every one of you, and Gary and I will see you next time.